السلام عليكم. معكم المدرس المساعد كرار عليوي، أستاذ مادة الترجمة الإنكليزية في كلية الآداب، قسم الترجمة، المرحلة الثانية. موضوعنا هو الترجمة إلى الإنجليزية. We have now the subject of translations into English for sophomores, presented by the assistant instructor كرار عليوي, an instructor in the translations department at the College of Art المستنصرية University. The introductions. Translations can be defined as the process of transferring a written text from one language into another. In this course, we will focus on the translations into English to improve the students' capabilities to translate a written text from Arabic into English in a very peaceful and impactful way. Then, this course paves the way for the students to acquaint the methods, styles, and ways used by English speakers and their official standard English. This course will be the foundation stone for students to get familiar with English styles so that they can practice translations on various fields of knowledge. Now, in the translations into English, we have some principles that we have to use. One of these principles and steps is to firstly focus on the translations of headline. So we have to know what the characteristics that can be used in the translations of headline. So we have a number of characteristics, and we will present some of them for your consideration. Number one, headlines are not always complete sentences. Many headlines consist of noun phrases. So headlines are not complete sentences, are not always complete sentences. Many headlines consist of noun phrases with no verb. So sometimes we can find headlines with noun phrases without verb just to shorten the headline. Like we have this example in Arabic, because we have our subject is the translations into English. So we have given you an example in Arabic like استشهاد 5 فلسطينيين في غارة إسرائيلية في غزة. So the possible translations of this headline is as follows: 5 Palestinians martyred in Israeli raid in Gaza. So this is an example of point number 1. Point number 2, headlines often leave out articles and the verb to be to save space. So as we say that headline should be short, the shorter the better. So we don't use articles, whether definite articles or indefinite articles, in headlines, just to save space. For example, we have this original source language text, and we would see how it will be translated. زلزال مدمر يضرب شرق الهند. Strong earthquake rocks East India. So we can see that in this headline we did not use articles, whether definite or indefinite articles. زلزال المدمر, in Arabic it is indefinite, while in English It's also indefinite, but no indefinite article was used. Number 3, in headlines, simple tenses are often used instead of progressive or perfect forms. The simple present is used for both present and past events. In headlines, we always focused on the tense, and we use the simple present just for the expressions of present and past events. We have this example just to illustrate the idea. البرلمان العراقي يمرر قانون الموازنة. So this is an Arabic text, and we would see the translations. Iraq Kar passes budget law. Kar stands for Council of Representatives, which means in Arabic Majlis al-Nawab. So we use the acronyms of this phrase just for save space. One of the points that I want to add is that headlines often and always use abbreviation. So if we can abbreviate words, that would be better. Like for example, United Nations. So instead of saying United Nations, I can say UN. And instead of saying United States of America, I can simply say USA. This is in headlines. So if there are many abbreviations and acronyms worldwide, so the translator has to be acquainted and familiar and aware with these worldwide used acronyms. Number 4, in the translation headlines, to plus verb is used to indicate a future action. In headlines, we sometimes have future actions that indicates a future, let's say, event, a future process. So we used V plus verb to indicate a future action. For example, يلتقي الرئيس العراقي بنظيره الأردني يوم الأحد. So logically, the Iraqi president did not meet his Jordanian counterpart. He would meet him on Sunday. But let us see how this headline was translated. Iraqi president to meet Jordanian counterpart on Sunday. So I used to plus verb to indicate future action. The other example, يفتتح رئيس الوزراء معمل إعادة التدوير في بغداد السبت القادم. Prime Minister to inaugurate recycling factory in Baghdad next Saturday. So I also used to plus verb to indicate future action. That means the recycling factory is not open, is not inaugurated yet, but it would be inaugurated next Saturday. So I use V to plus verb to indicate a future action. So here I'm just giving you an idea about the fields of translations that we would focus on in this semester. In the first 2 months of this academic year, I will give the students assignment of various translation fields, such as political, journalistic translations. The student will be presented with political, journalistic text as assignment during the first 8 weeks of the first course of the academic year. The lecturer will listen to and evaluate the students' translations. He will also present students with important remarks and comments regarding their translation style, word selections, taking into account the semantic and lexical perspectives. So I would listen to the students' translations as I will give them some assignment. I would listen to their outcome, to their productions, and I would give my comments accordingly, sometimes to correct some, let's say, grammatical points, or to let's say listen to new words to give them the appropriate equivalent, etc. Then we would shift to move to the economic and financial translation. During the last 8 weeks of the first course of the academic year, the student will be presented with text tackling economic financial issues. The lecturer will also listen to and evaluate the students' work to build their capacities in this important field. He also wants students to have essential background in legal and financial register so that students can be prepared for the legal and specialized domains translations in the coming stages. So I would also give students some background, some basic text in legal and economic translation so that they can be aware and acquainted with the points, with the domain that they would study in the coming stages or in the coming years. In the second semester or in the second course of the academic year, the students will be given assignment of various translation fields such as literary translations. Literary translation would be also our focus, so we should not forget it. The students will be presented with assignment of various texts during the first 8 weeks of the second course. The text will include selected parts of a short story, novel, a prose, and a verse of poetry. The lecturer will listen to and evaluate the students' works. He will also present the students with important remarks and comments regarding their translation style, word selections taking into account the semantic and lexical perspectives. Then he will deliver his translation to students. So after listening to students' productions of the literary text, and after giving my comments and feedback, I would then give them my translations so that they can take it into considerations in correcting their work or in knowing the words that I presented to them. Then we would shift to medical translations. You know, this kind of a translation is very specific and a specialized domain, and consideration should be given to this kind of work as it is very specialized and it needs to be taken into account. During the 8 weeks of the second course, the students will be assigned to translate selected medical text. The lecturer will also listen and evaluate the students' work to build their capacities in this important field. The translation of this course, the translation of the lecturer will be presented at the end of the lecture. So at the end of the lecture, I would present my translations to the students so that they can take it into account in listening to and representing their work. So now we would take some example about the work of the translator. some example about text, and I would ask some students to translate this text as an assignment. Example 1. الاتحاد الأوروبي يدعم مصر ب5 ملايين دولار. So this is the headline. Now, as we presented in the previous minute, the characteristics of the translations of headlines. So now we should take care of how to translate this headline, taking into account the already mentioned characteristics. الاتحاد الأوروبي يدعم مصر ب5 ملايين دولار. So since I have some abbreviations, I have to use the abbreviations. الاتحاد الأوروبي, the European Union. But what is the abbreviations of the European Union, which is recognized worldwide and which is also non-worldwide, is EU. Supports Egypt with $5 million. 5 can be written as digit since it's headline, and dollar can be written with its symbol like this one. وافق الاتحاد الأوروبي على تخصيص حزمة دعم غير مسبوقة لمصر تبلغ 5 مليارات دولار. This is not euro, this is written mistakes, I mean mistype. 5 مليارات دولار على مدى عامين من خلال مؤسسات الاتحاد الأوروبي التمويلية، وذلك في خطوة تأتي وسط إجراءات اقتصادية مشددة تتخذها القاهرة التي تبحث عن وسائل لتحسين وضعها الاقتصادي. So before starting or before translating any written text, I have to do the following point. First, I have to read the text to see what kind of text is this, to highlight the important words, the important characters, the words that I miss, that I don't know, so that I can have some familiarity with the text and then start with the translations. So now, after supposedly that we read the text, so now we can start with our translations. The European Union. So see, the European, this is not an abbreviation, this is a full form, since this is not a text, not a headline, it's a text. The European Union agreed to allocate unprecedented support, دعم غير مسبوق، حزمة دعم غير مسبوقة، unprecedented غير مسبوق، أعطيتك دعما غير مسبوق. I give you an unprecedented support to Egypt amounting to $5 million over 2 years through the European Union financing or financial institutions in a step, في خطوة, أو we can say in an attempt, in a bid that comes amid strict economic measures taken by Cairo, which is looking for ways to improve its economic situations. So as you can see in the text that I have underlined a number of expressions which I consider important. Number 1, حزمة دعم غير مسبوقة. It can be translated as unprecedented support package. Number 2, التمويلية. So we can say financing institutions or financial institutions. وذلك في خطوة we can say in a step to تأتي وسط إجراءات اقتصادية مشددة وسط amid strict economic measures إجراءات اقتصادية مشددة تتخذها القاهرة التي تبحث عن وسائل لتحسين وضعها الاقتصادي. So I think this is clear now. Let's continue the text. وبموجب الاتفاق فإن الدول الأوروبية ستقدم لمصر بشكل ثنائي قرابة مليار دولار أو مليون دولار إن صح التعبير، على أن يتقاسم بنك الاستثمار الأوروبي والبنك الأوروبي لإعادة الإعمار باقي المبلغ. Let's see what the translation is. According to the agreement, الاتفاق can be translated as agreement, deal, European countries. So you can say European countries or you can say EU countries. If you want to use abbreviations or acronyms, it's also permitted. European countries will provide Egypt bilaterally بشكل ثنائي أو على نحو ثنائي bilaterally with approximately $1 million. So it is 1 million. So this should be corrected. The original text is 1 million, not billion. مليون وليس مليار، هذا أيضا خطأ مطبعي. With $1 million with the European Investment Bank بنك أو مصرف الاستثمار الأوروبي and the European Reconstruction Bank sharing the rest of the amount. وجاء الإعلان عبر بيان أصدرته الرئاسة المصرية عقب اللقاء الذي عقده الرئيس محمد مرسي مع كاثرين أشتون الممثل الأعلى للعلاقات الخارجية والسياسة الأمنية الأوروبية، وذلك بمناسبة مشاركتها في اجتماعات مجموعة العمل المصرية الأوروبية المشتركة وفقا لما نقله التلفزيون المصري عن وكالة أنباء الشرق الأوسط. So this is a long sentence and it is a complex sentence and it has a lot of new vocabularies, new words, new expressions. So I have to read more so that I can acquire meanings, terminologies, expression, etc. وجاء الإعلان. Let's read the translation. The announcement is الإعلان, or I can say declaration. The announcement came through a statement issued by the Egyptian presidency الرئاسة المصرية عقب اللقاء following the meeting held by President Mohammed Morsi with Catherine Ashton, High Representative for Foreign Relations and European Security Policy, on the occasions of her participations in the meetings of Joint Egyptian-European Working Group. وفقا لما نقله التلفزيون المصري عن وكالة أنباء الشرق الأوسط, according to what was reported by the Egyptian TV or televisions from the official Middle East news agencies. So this is sometimes this is a quotation mark. So since we don't have a quotation mark, but this is a quotation mark, so it's better to present the idea first and then, or the direct speech first and then to report or to start with the the presenter, the one who presented this idea. So we have another assignment. So before indulging in this assignment, for delving in this assignment, let's go back to the previous one and provide some comments. In this context that I just read, in this context I just read, this is a complicated one and it needs some attention. It needs some attention. Sometimes we have some complex sentences, complex words, and the words I cannot know, and I cannot use the most appropriate expressions. So what can I do? In such a case, I have to look for or to look up the word in an English dictionary and make sure that this word is presented and is stated by the English speaker with the appropriate content. So I cannot directly take words without making sure that this word is used in this way, in the way I want in English. So we have a lot of political expressions here, like bayan, which is translated as a statement, and we have الممثل الأعلى, the high representative للعلاقات الخارجية for foreign relations, والسياسة الأمنية الأوروبية and European security policy. So this is also an expression and a political expressions. وذلك بمناسبة مشاركتها, the resumptive pronoun الها يعود إلى Catherine Ashton on the occasion of her participations in the meetings of joint Egyptian-European Working Group, اجتماعات مجموعة العمل المصرية الأوروبية المشتركة, according to what was reported, وفقا لما نقله التلفزيون المصري. So in Arabic sometimes they start the sentence with this phrase, وفقا لما نقله التلفزيون المصري عن وكالة أنباء الشرق الأوسط الرسمية. They would say جاء الإعلان عبر بيان أصدرته الرئاسة المصرية عقب اللقاء الذي عقده الرئيس محمد مرسي مع كاثرين أشتون الممثلة للعلاقات الخارجية والسياسة الأوروبية. So this is just like a political text which needs some attention by the translator before, or by the students before delving into doing the translation. We have the other assignment. This is also a political or just a piece of news that we want the student to read or to translate. قوات الأمن النيجيرية تقتل 13 في غارة على عصابة لخطف الأشخاص. So I presented here the full original text without dividing the translations, accompanied by the original text. So I would read the headlines, I would repeat the headline, and then I would go directly to the translations. قوات الأمن النيجيرية تقتل 13 في غارة على عصابة لخطف الأشخاص. Nigerian security forces kill 13 in raid on kidnapping gang. Raid غارة, killed. We can see that the headline starts with present simple, kill. Raid is غارة, 13 as a digit, which means the people who were killed by the Nigerian security forces. قتلت